Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me here. Really excited to introduce Coins.ph as well as the country of Philippines to you guys. Quick introduction about myself. My name is Wei Zhou. I'm currently the CEO for Coins. Coins is the largest licensed crypto exchange and wallet in the Philippines. Let's see. So, talk a little bit today about bringing the global diaspora on chain. And what I mean by that is that Coins is one of the first licensed VASPs, virtual asset service providers in the Philippines. We received, and it's also one of the earliest e-wallet in the Philippines. And one of the earliest use cases that we have is actually on the remittance side. And that ties into sort of, I think, the money network that Stella has been building. So really excited to sort of to share our story here with you guys. Let me see, where is the slide that I want? Oh, no. There's actually it's a little bit an older slide. There's actually a story that I kind of wanted to tell before I go into the presentation. It's supposed to be in here, but so last week we listed a token called Turbo, which is one of these meme coins, and then I had been sort of talking to one of the community managers for Turbo, and then he's been pretty active. You know, it's like an AI generated slug or like snail coin. Yeah, not that important, but the fellow that was been talking to me online is, you know, his X handle is Lim Sanity, and then he kept on sort of telling me to, you know, push it out, and then we listed, I think we listed the token last week, and then after we listing, you know, we had like just been talking to him online, and then he says, oh, by the way, I'm moving back to the Philippines next month. I was like, oh, cool. If you know, once you get back, you know, stop by our office. You know, where our office is in BGC. If you guys have been to Manila, sort of like the kind of the more happening place. And then he's like, yeah, definitely. I've been in OFW working in Saudi Arabia for 10 years, and crypto has enabled me to now move back home. I was like, WTF? I had no idea, right? So he's basically been a overseas worker in Saudi Arabia for 10 years, and then he's been, you know, following a lot of crypto stuff, and then he joined this meme coin as one of their community managers, and then when this meme coin took off to be, I think, like $200 million market cap, you know, he's able to, move from manual labor to a skilled labor, and to be able to deploy his capital at home, basically, you know, bought some shops that he's going to run. So I think one of the thing here is like that I wanted to share the message, the chat history that I had with them is more about, I think, you know, while most of us are still thinking of crypto and thinking of fintech as financial inclusion, I think one of the things, the next evolution of crypto is actually more about financial empowerment, where you can actually start doing things with the money that you make. And it goes a little bit, ties into sort of a little bit about the Philippines. So Philippines is home to a very young and tech-savvy population. It's about 120 million people. And then the median age is only 25 years old. And then if you look at the demographic curves of the country, it's actually like more than half of the country is actually under the age of 30. And then it's about 69 million what do you call it, internet users. But then bank account penetration is quite low. I think it's only in the low 30s. It's a little bit higher now. I think in the low 30s now. And then but crypto adoption, I think it ranks around 8th on Chain Analysis list. And sort of where that comes into Coins is that, you know, we were founded in 2014 originally as both an e-wallet and kind of like, you know, the function that Coinbase served. And then we're on and then, you know, originally our mission was basically try to bring the unbanked to basically banked through sort of the digital wallet and through crypto. And cumulatively, we've got about 5 million KYC users. That number's a little bit off. And then peak monthly user is about 7 million, about 70+% market share in the crypto space. But one of the unique use cases that we have from day one is servicing what I call the overseas diaspora. So if you look at Philippines, we, out of the 120 million people that I talked to, there's about 15 million that actually work overseas. I think if you've been to the Middle East, you'll see a lot of workers at hotels, at airports. And then if you go to Hong Kong, if you go to Singapore, or even Taiwan, you see a lot of domestic helpers. And if you go to Japan or Korea, you actually see a lot of factory workers. And the same is true, I think. So the country actually has and then And then one story that I had is I was having lunch with some of the PayPal people, and they basically said, you know, every month, end of the months, they would see a massive flow on PayPal from the Caribbeans to the Philippines. And then the reason being is that the cruise line workers, or most of them are Filipino. So basically, whenever the ship docks, that's when they come out and send money home. So it's basically the fourth biggest remittance and taking country in the world behind India, China, and Mexico. So about $40 billion a year comes back. And what we've been trying to do is that basically, from day one, how do we help to bring that money back, safer, faster, cheaper, right? And then we sort of listed out a lot of the corridors that we've been servicing, and one of the earlier sort of vendors that we've been working with is actually with Stella, and then subsequently with Ripple, and then subsequently with different blockchains, because I think some of the blockchains have gone out and actually went into the sort of created sort of the to be cases and working with the vendors, and what's really interesting here for us is we've actually been working. So sort of like, how do I say this? A couple of years, all the way into sort of like, I would say a couple of years ago, the primary case for remittance coming back from the Philippines, I think, has actually gone through XRP. But over the last 2-3 years, we've actually seen an increasing usage in terms of the US dollar stablecoins vis-a-vis XRP. And this is where I think we actually have a sort of a real live, I would say, success case in sort of using stablecoins and using crypto to bring the remittance home cheaper, faster. And we I don't have some of the numbers here, but typical remittance, they charge rate about 4 to 5%. And then in all of our case studies, we basically have been lowering the cost of remittance end to end to around 1 to 2%. And then from a timing perspective, typically if you use like a Western Union or MoneyGram, if you want to get things to arrive in 24 hours, you typically have to pay a premium. But with a lot of the vendors that we work with now, we can actually get end to end in instantly. So this is where we started expanding our support with USDC. But where we have a little bit more innovation is we've actually launched our own peso-backed stablecoin, which is a fully backed fiat-backed stablecoin, and also approved, I think, in my mind, one of the only sort of stablecoin, one of the few stablecoins that's actually been approved by the central bank as a private issuer. So what we hope to do is to actually launch that stablecoin onto other exchanges. So, for example, I would love to get that stablecoin listed on Coinbase, such that Filipinos that can actually, that have need to send money to the Philippines can actually purchase that stablecoin on a Coinbase or on an exchange, and then actually use that peso stablecoin to send money back directly. And then, so right now, what we're working on with Stellar is we are working with a licensed exchange in the Middle East, in the UAE, where I think about close to 2 million Filipinos sort of work there to actually drive the use case for both USDC and potentially even listing PHPC on that exchange, such that the workers and the overseas workers in that region can actually use stables directly. So they can actually completely bypass, I think, a lot of the middleman agencies and actually be able to onboard into either USDC or onboard into PHPC directly, and to be able to send that to an end wallet within Coins. I think most of the focus here has been on stablecoins, but one thing that sort of there's a bigger vision behind just the Philippines, because I think I do a little bit of introduction about myself. So I bought Coins with a consortium in 2022. So a lot of the history of Coins in the Philippines has actually taken place prior to sort of my becoming CEO. And then before coming the CEO of Coins, I was actually the CFO at a much bigger shop called Binance. And then, so my responsibility there was actually global expansion in terms of expanding into licensing, expanding into basically building fiat on and off ramps. And I think that was one of the sort of so within Binance, basically, I saw the massive network effect that you can have when you do have regional presences. not just sort of, so and you can have use cases beyond just speculation, beyond just sort of trading, I usually, it's like you guys are here for listening to me to chit chat. So I'll tell actually quite a funny anecdote to about sort of the powerful network that centralized exchanges, and even with Binance, they didn't really have like on and off ramps, but they have a pretty powerful global network. So I'll tell actually a pretty funny story for you guys. So in 2021, if you remember, there's one of the most trafficked site in the world, Pornhub, got debanked by credit card companies. And at that point, they started reaching out into the crypto community in terms of adding sort of payment support. And someone on my BD team, we basically reached out to them to say, hey, we can actually act as your crypto payment service provider. And and then they're interested. And then I think Binance was actually added as one of their potential payment providers on their site. And then they basically said, oh, our finance department wants to have a call with you guys as well. I was like, okay, sure, let's have a chat. And they're basically like, oh yeah, we currently already use you guys to pay the 4,000 performers that we have on our site. And we have to basically do manual sending every time. Can you whitelist these, these addresses so that we can do one-time click and send? And for me, it's just like, people are already using, I think, sort of Binance then. But the problem, I think, that these sort of what I call these, unregulated global centralized exchanges face is that they don't really land, right? They don't really land in a country. They basically float off in the cloud, and occasionally I'll airdrop some stuff. They don't really have, they're in the process of getting licenses, but that's a much challenging task, right? Because you're basically switching from a internet company into a financial service company, right? And those are two very different DNAs that they have to sort of adapt to. And what I hope to build with Coins, so I left Binance December of 21, and then sort of bought Coins in the second quarter of 2022. Is the idea here? I think that I have is and then sort of built, I think, a pretty successful use case, I think, in the Philippines is I believe that sort of regional or country exchanges or VASPs are actually what I call fiat nodes. And then it's basically an endpoint that you can actually do last mile for crypto into sort of the real world, right? But the thing, what do you need to build this fiat node, right? First, you need a licensing stack. Then you need a banking stack. And then you need a liquidity stack, right? Because at the end of the day, without a license, you can't offer financial services to the users of those countries legally and sustainably. Without banking and payment rails, you can't really be connected into people's actually lives, right? But then once you have all of those, you still need the liquidity, right? Because I see without liquidity, you can't really convert things, right? That's where it's sort of like almost like an FX business. So sort of if you look at sort of what we've done in the Philippines is because we've basically have started aggregating flows, right, in terms of people coming into crypto to trade, and then also remittance flow that's coming back from crypto into the fiat world. So we've actually been able to cross liquidity on our order book in the Philippines, such that when people want to have a stable coin to pesos price, they basically use our order book, right? That means we are the source of liquidity. We are the reference price point for pesos to stable coins, right? So we've become the hub for the fiat to crypto liquidity in the Philippines. And our goal here, my goal here is that then how do you build a network, right? The network then is, well, with the same technology stack that I have, I'm going to open it up to more countries. But I need to have licenses. I need to have payment rails, real payment rails, banking channels, basically banking, because that's still the cheapest from an onboard and on-ramp and off-ramp perspective. So we are expanding into Latin America, into Africa, and then hopefully, land in Europe as well. So we'll open up Aussie dollars, Brazilian real, maybe a couple of African currencies, as well as euros. I think the first three definitely by the end of this year, and then a few key currencies at the beginning of next year. So what I hope to build is basically a fiat nodes in some of these key regions, such that whatever people are doing, I think, in the crypto native world can actually land and basically use our fiat rails, use our fiat nodes to actually really bridge, really bridge the I think the regions, and then bridge the on-chain and the real world. So yeah, so I'll pause here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to address it. Have any comments, feel free to chive in.